Hi, I'm ED-SKaR, and I've accidentally got myself involved in one of those escalation leagues that wargamers start all the time. I sort of like and sort of dislike the concept for various reasons, but overall I would say that they can be a lot of fun for the most part, as long as you don't get caught up in the negative feedback loop that they can sometimes cause. So in my specific example, the Escalation League is, naturally, bolt action. What I also have is a mostly unpainted American army, a ragtag group to be sure, and our first games are going to be 600 points, which isn't quite as small as you can go, but it is very small for this game. Because for the smallest games, there are certain requirements that I need to paint first. The very first things that you need are your LT and 2 infantry squads. The minimum squad size for standard infantry in the USA Army is 6. So if I paint up one of my usually 12 strong squads and split them in half, and then also paint my officer, for 13 models that is the utter minimum to play. And so that is my first step and the rest of this video. Having a look at the condition of the squad so far, you can see that I've done some milliput cobblestones on the base coated in a reddy brown, and the figures are base coated in a dark green with a zenithal of a lighter green. And that's all done with the airbrush, so it didn't take a whole lot of time, and then took way longer to clean the airbrush multiple times. That said, I have been painting my bolt action models fairly simply, so I might not need to do a lot more work to finish them up. And so I set about picking out some of the details with a brush. I started with the rifle stock and rucksack in a darker brown, as it seemed like these wouldn't be green to me. But I realised there's actually something a little bit more interesting that I can do, rather than just brown paint, and it's something that I've been working on recently, and that is making my own heavy washes. Now, some companies are selling heavy washes as contrast paint or speed paint, but it's not a product, rather it is a technique of diluting paint in such a way that it filters and pulls in the way you want it to. I added extra matte medium to make sure it was sticky, and water to thin it down, of course, and I think I got it close enough to how I wanted it to be to have the right effect. And in this case, I was tinting the green trousers brown without totally obliterating the zenithal that I had already made with the light and dark green in the original step. Now, I ended up with way too much of this mix, and so I went around the rest of the platoon and picked out either their trousers or their shirt or some part of each model with the heavy wash. And whilst I did keep them consistent within squads, I wanted to break up the whole platoon a little with some variety. But I put those aside and went back to my first squads. Naturally, once it was dry, I doused the entire models just in a normal wash, and that gives me the recesses darkened and that I can work from. It's just a really quick and easy step that I tend to use. And most of the rest of what I did for the models is painting in the skin and highlighting up the shirt with the light green to really strengthen the highlights. This is a surprisingly simple and quick painting scheme which I have been tending towards with my bolt action models, as they are for gaming and not display. But I can't say I'm totally happy with the outcome. They do capture the general aesthetic that I was looking for, but it's maybe just a bit simplistic. Hopefully as I paint the rest of the platoon I can improve on things and work out the last few steps to make them look a little nicer, but for the moment these are in a gameable condition. And if I split these 12 up into the 2 minimum size squads, that gives me the minimum 2 infantry squads for a platoon. And I can lay them out with all of the other models that I've finished so far, which apparently is only vehicles. Strangely, I do seem to paint up vehicles a lot faster than I do infantry. I'm not sure why. Which does remind me, I still need to paint that lieutenant, whichever. I need to paint the LT, as that's one of the minimum choices, and I've got my eye in with the first squad, so I should probably get stuck into the second squad as well. Let me know in the comments what I'm missing from these models. Now, they're not meant to be display quality, they're just gaming models, but a little extra work here and there to neaten them up wouldn't be objectionable. Also, let me know if you'd like to see me painting the next squad and then the third squad, just to see my progress and if the technique I'm using changes. But for now, I'm ED-SKaR, always will be, and thank you very much for watching.